Hey guys, it's Allie. I hope that you're having a wonderful day. So I recently had the question, what do I expect as far as getting admitted onto hospice services? How does that usually work? So I will say that it may vary a little bit with if you use a different company, but generally this is going to be how it will go. So as we talked about in our previous video, you may be referred by the hospital, you may be referred by a physician, or you may pursue it on your own as a family member, or if it's you that is going on to hospice services, you may pursue that on your own. So let's say that ball is rolling at this point. So what's going to happen normally then is a hospice representative, a hospice specialist, is going to reach out to you and sit down and talk to you either in person or on the phone about what kind of services you're interested in. They will explain what hospice offers and how that might be an advantage to you right now. And then they are going to get your information as far as if you have Medicare or Medicaid, they're going to get that number, your social security number, any insurance information, verify address, and verify who your next of kin is, or if you're the one calling in for your loved one, if you have power of attorney, etc. And then, normally speaking, they will process the information, run insurance, so to speak, and schedule a meeting to come out and do an evaluation. So at that point, a nurse will come out, usually to the home. Usually we do not do those in the hospital. We do our evaluations once a person is home from the hospital, although that can change depending on the hospital policies and the policies in your state or county. Okay, so normally speaking, that evaluation takes place in the home environment, and that means whatever the home environment is. So that person, let's say that your loved one lives in an assisted living or memory care or personal care home, then or independent living, then the evaluation will happen there in their living space. Usually it helps the nurse to be able to see the area that the person's living in, to see what kind of equipment they might need, to ask all kinds of questions, and just make sure that the person is qualified based on Medicare guidelines. Then at that point, the nurse will usually step out and call the medical director. The medical director will verify the information with the nurse, and then the nurse will step back in and say, yes, you are approved for the service. And at that point, it's all about paperwork. So I won't go over all of the paperwork, but I'll just explain that generally and generically, it is basically letting your health insurance know, or Medicare, if you have Medicare, know that the hospice company is going to be taking over your health care, and they are going to be providing your health care, or your loved one's health care, of course, in the home environment, and they are going to be responsible from this point forward. And generally, a lot of the paperwork is basically going over like HIPAA things and who's allowed to know things, and making sure that we have the required DNR if that's appropriate. A lot of the paperwork is very repetitive, and I always tell people that they're going to feel like they bought a house when they're done, but they're not going to owe, money on a house when they're done. They're just basically signing the just individual things over and over and over, because what they do is they split up the paperwork. So most of the time, what you'll see is there'll be like a piece of paper that talks about your rights, and then a piece of paper that talks about how medication is handled, and another piece of paper talking about how to revoke or to change your mind about hospice services. So everything is just kind of split up, which means it's a good stack of paper. You may sign off on a tablet instead of actual hard copy paper. So at that point, usually your nurse will talk to you about a schedule, and they will talk to you about how often you want assistance, like a CNA in the home to help with bathing, dressing, and grooming. Usually they'll go over what the nurse schedule will look like. For my company, most patients see a nurse twice a week unless they are having issues and problems, in which case, of course, we might be out there every single day. If we have symptoms that are not being managed and we need to be out there and have eyes on. So, and then usually you're going to have a visit within 24 hours from a chaplain and also from a social worker. Again, this is about Medicare guidelines. So if you don't ever want to see that chaplain or social worker again, you don't have to. But it is nice to know that they are available to help you figure out if there are any services that you could be receiving that you're not receiving. And then you may also have a conversation about volunteers and vigil volunteers, and if that's something that you're interested in. And then from there, you pretty much start on your rotation of care, and you will be given all kinds of emergency information, including the phone number that you call instead of 911 in case of emergency. And basically, I feel like what kind of happens in those first few days is just a lot of support coming forward and finding out what's important to you and figuring out how we can support you during this time. And so, I guess that is the quick down and dirty version of how someone goes from talking about hospice and getting the referral from the physician to being assigned a case manager and being on services. So admission to hospice does not mean that you're going anywhere. It is just the name of the process that it takes to get a person on service. So I am here to help. If you have any questions, of course, you can reach out. I would appreciate it. It would help me with the YouTube analytics if you would please like and subscribe and share my information. I would be so grateful, and I hope that you have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.